Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9.
All right, everybody, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here, along with Scoot.
Yo, yo.
And Johnson.
We won one this week, Guido.
Listen, I mean, I can't complain.
It happened.
I guess it happened, right? There was a win on Senior Day. That's awesome. Like WVU, at least for the seniors that'll leave or will be leaving, pulled one out there, 70-64 over TCU. Of course, earlier in the week, we played Oklahoma, and that was not great, would you say?
Considering at one point we had not scored for 8 minutes and were 0 for 14, no, Scoot, it was not a great showing. Now, listen, by all accounts, we are not the offensive juggernaut this year, but even for us, this was an impressive show of badness. I'll leave it at that.
Well, what's more frustrating is the cast of characters that we lost to.
Yeah, right.
It's it's like
keep in mind you said it was like the cast of Slapstick, I think, or Slapshot.
Yeah. Like you've got a guy that kind of looks like Jackie Moon and Paul Bunyan, like, right. and a guy that has long hair but doesn't tie it back or something.
Lou
like
Diamond Phillips.
Yeah, like what is going on? And I feel like Oklahoma always has those types of guys.
And Guido, it was, at least there wasn't a lot of people in the home crowd at Oklahoma to be subject to that. I mean, it looked like there were a couple dozen fans in attendance for them. So,
and I guess the only thing I want to say about that is that yet again we play a conference team at their home. Oklahoma had 7,259 people at that game,
and that feels
like,
generous.
I feel like that's an inflated number.
Yeah.
That feels inflated. That feels like, when they talk about in baseball, like season ticket holders, I feel like there's some season ticket holders in there.
Yeah.
So, and then WVU goes and comes home for Senior Day, 12,000 people in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
So again, WVU struggling. People are still showing up, guys. People are we're still watching this.
Here's my problem with all of this. We keep getting we're going to do something different. We're going to do something different. Yet we don't do anything different ever. It's the same.
Well, let's talk about that, Scoot, because after this Oklahoma game, Kerrigan, which I feel like Guido Tony needs like some kind of medal to put on his chest after this season, because he has to go through these post games. Oh man, that's a rough conversation every post game. Scoot, in this post game, Huggs says like next year we're gonna see 2 to 4 freshmen see Taz Sherman like minutes, like he's kind of setting the stage, if you remember that quote from earlier in the week. And then he says he needs to do something so he doesn't lose credibility, and so a guy or two won't be suited up when we play again. And then we come home and play TCU, and I think we essentially played all the same people we normally do, right? We didn't do anything different.
The only thing I noticed maybe different, was Diamond Kerrigan played 1 minute, I think is what he got credit for.
Yeah.
So is he the guy then? Is that we're supposed to assume that that's the bad guy of all of this?
I don't know. He made a brief appearance, but otherwise, you saw the normal rotation. You saw Polycap getting a lot of minutes. Curry.
Well, and then Seth Wilson did not play.
True.
Which is also weird, right?
Yeah, and Kobe only got a few minutes as well.
So we're going to talk up these guys, and then we're not going to play them.
Yeah, it's odd. I agree.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, because it's so hard. We're at the end of the season. You've got, all of these issues or whatever it might be. You had Huggins in the week multiple times this week. You had him in post games. You had him in his little Huggins show and the presses. He was like, next year it's going to be all freshmen. I've talked to the 4 freshmen, the 5 freshmen. They're all in for next year. They're all in for next year. So it's just like, is he playing out, and there's still one game left. We haven't even talked about that yet. Like, I mean, is he just playing this out? Like, is Huggins done with this team? So he's not even, as a coach, he's not even trying, I guess.
Well, and you said the little Huggins show, Scoot. What if that was like, hey man, you calling me cute? It's a little hug show. No, what I was going to say though is he specifically met with the freshmen before the TCU game. And if you recall, Guido, that we read, like it was all over Twitter, there was this whole anecdote about he took the freshmen, took them to shoot around, told the told the rest of the team, hey, you guys stay here and watch the tape and figure it out. And he took the freshmen out to shoot around. And so to me, I came into the TCU game like, maybe he's finally going to put his foot down and really, we might see some James Okonkwo or like, I don't know, just like completely start freshman. But he really didn't. I don't feel like he did any of that.
Are we to assume then they must have figured it out on their own and he's not needed as a coach?
Well, he did say that they responded though. He said that he felt like they responded to that and they played a lot better. He went through after the TCU game. It was a much different feeling. It was a much different soundbite from Hugs. He was saying, on ball pressure was a lot better. He felt defensive intensity was a lot better. Rebounding. He kind of left Tony that in that post game saying, well, they responded. Now, is some of that Jamie Dixon has never won in the Coliseum, which is still kind of funny. And, they just managed to beat a TCU team, or how much of that did they really figure out? I don't know.
And what do you guys read into the Jalen Bridges comments after the game where he had said that Jalen is probably he's the most versatile player they've got on the team. He can put him anywhere, and that he may go down as one of his favorite players of all time. Comment. It was kind of that's paraphrasing, but kind of interesting. I wonder, maybe we read too much into this because we're looking for something to grasp to. Like, is it him? Is he trying to convince Jalen to stay? Is he trying to tell Jalen he appreciates his effort and he knows he's had kind of a rough season on the court and kind of off the court? I don't know. Or maybe I'm just, like I said, trying to grasp for something to...
No, I think it felt notable because it was really specific. So that was during that post game after TCU. He's kind of making some general comments. Then he spends a good 2 minutes just specifically talking about JB. It felt really specific. And not to be salty, but JB he has a good game, right? He finishes with 10 points. I think he had 5 boards, but I think he had 8 and 5 at the half. And then he just kind of faded in the second half. It felt like, I don't know, I kind of agree with you. It felt like Hugs was taking a second to really give him some specific praise. And I think, if you've been listening to our show for a couple weeks now, we were speculating that maybe there was some not so great environment there around JB.
Well, and so that's, I guess, my question, Scoot. Like, does Hugs look at this and say, I can't have a freshman team be all freshmen next year. I have to have a leader to build this team around. And so now is he saying, okay, well, I'm losing all of this. These people are probably going to go. I have a feeling he's thinking other people might leave. Is he trying to pump JB a little bit so maybe JB stays on as the leader on next year's team?
Or devil's advocate says, is he saying this stuff so that when JB leaves, hey, that's on JB. He knew I loved him. He knew I wanted him to stay.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah,
I guess that's a possibility as well. So WVU does, though, finally snap their 7-game losing streak, and they finish 15-16. I will, guys, admit I was wrong. I know going into conference play back in December, we were talking, and I was like, oh, they've got 8 wins, 9 wins in this conference season, and both of you thought I was cuckoo. Not very, a little off the rails, and you guys were right.
You were going down the list. That. You gave us a whole nice list of all the wins.
I know.
All
Texas
the
Tech,
wins.
we were going to be Texas Tech every time, I think, in my book. I don't think that happened. So yeah, it was a rough go at it. So now WVU goes on. They essentially now play in, I guess it's what the conference play-in game. Is that what you would call it?
Yeah, they're calling it the first round, quote unquote. But if you look at the bracket, it's like who gets to play Kansas. So it feels very much like a play-in game. Yeah.
So we play K-State on March 9th, Wednesday, March 9th, 7 p.m.
Scoot, you haven't seen enough Purple Kansas yet, have you? You need one more game with Purple Kansas.
The Screaming Seagull.
right?
That's
I
all
mean,
I think of.
it's right. That's kind of apropos for the season.
What's a concern? I guess could be a concern. Not that this matters much for this team. It will be essentially kind of a home game because it's in Kansas City, so it'll be more like a home game for Kansas State than it will be for us because obviously nothing is close to us in this godforsaken conference. Of course, I mean, unless you're talking about Iowa State, which is our natural rival, of course.
Right. Yes. Natural rival. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes with that game. I don't know.
I guess the good thing is of the 4 conference wins that we have this year, guys, Kansas State is one of them. So there is a record.
Now, was that
get
the game
on
when,
the sunshiny view of this train.
Yeah,
come on.
That
Get
was
on
the
here.
game where they had the guy that mops the floor as the assistant coach, and they brought in
The Towboy was
four
There was
managers.
I mean, maybe Kansas State will only show up with 8 players like they did
Come
when
on.
they came to
4
Morgantown.
managers and the guy that was on the intramural champion team. They took one of their players
Yes.
and brought him and said, "Hey, you get to Jersey. You get to play tonight."
and that game was still pretty close, I feel like.
Yes.
The final score of that game was 71-68. So Kansas State only had 8 players, and
Yeah,
they
that
almost
actually
beat us.
feels bad. That feels
I know you
terrible.
guys are betting guys,
Yeah.
right? You guys like to lay down the cash on teams.
Yep.
I heard today that I think it's 13,000 to 1 odds that WVU wins the Big 12 tournament.
Oh, okay.
So this would
So
be
you're
the
telling me
time.
there's a chance.
This would be
This
the time.
would be the
So just
time to
saying.
lay down some cash.
I don't think I will. I mean, so that's WVU's route into the NCAA tournament if they ran all the way through
That
the
would
the
be
Big
so
12.
on brand for us, though. I feel like to get to the championship game and then lose by like 2 points, that'd be really on brand for us.
That would be on brand. I mean, you'd probably, if they could do that, they probably would get an at-large, but that would be kind of ridiculous at this point. So WVU, yeah, like we said, plays Kansas State in the, I'm going to call it the play-in game. I don't care if they call it round 1.
I feel like that's apropos, yes.
They play Wednesday the 9th at 7 p.m. That game is on ESPNU. It's on the U, guys.
Oh, okay.
So we can check that out. Other basketball news, I guess, to talk about is both Taz Sherman and Sean McNeil are mentioned in the Big 12 teams. Taz is second team All Big 12. Sean McNeil gets an honorable mention for Big 12.
He does.
Kind of surprised, to be honest with you. I mean, I know he had some good games. Kind of surprised Sean got that. That was kudos to him. Taz, I thought, had a shot at maybe being first team, but, I think as rough as West Virginia played this year, I think that's kind of what hurt him on that. So congratulations, though, to the both of them, Scoot.
Yeah, I would have thought Taz might have, with what was he, the second leading scorer in the Big 12?
That's
so
what I
thought
was
he had
getting
a
ready. Yeah.
legitimate shot at being a first team player, but I think this is a situation where the team's record truly hurt, which for some strange reason it didn't help Kevin Jones back in the day, but we won't go there.
We are still salty about that.
I'm very salty about that. But yeah, Taz, he had some ups and downs. I think injury wise, I think he was out there. He missed a couple games with the concussion. So and the team faded down the stretch. Had we stayed like we did in the non-conference, he's a guaranteed first team all-conference.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
The McNeil thing is bizarre.
The McNeil thing to me is bizarre. I mean,
I think it's based on his history.
Yeah.
Well, especially because Sean had a note, like in the before conference schedule, Sean was torching it. I mean, he had a really strong points per game. I think as soon as we got into the meat of the conference schedule, though, his points per game, I think someone noted maybe before to the TCU game, he was under 10 points per game by that point. So I'm kind of surprised by that too, just because it faded down the stretch, but still good for him. I mean, and his history probably is playing in, Scoot. I have a feeling that would make sense to me too.
Yeah.
So other things to talk about, I guess, as it relates to the WVU basketball program, the non-conference schedule, guys, came out for next season. And, I think the highlighted thing, the thing that I'm most excited about is we're playing in that big Phil Knight tournament.
Yeah.
We're
excited now. Let's see what we've got let's see what we've got on the roster.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
I agree.
No, but you know what? I think it'll be nice to be in a good Thanksgiving tournament again. I think that's more of what I'm excited about. You've got, what is there? There's you're going to get Duke with a new coach in that. You're going to get Florida. I think Georgia's in there. Oregon State. So, you get some teams that at least are back to our level that we want to be in. Of course, we play our pit game. Anything else in that non-conference that jumps out to you? I mean, we have that Big East battle, but no teams have been announced yet. And we play Penn. I mean, I guess, that's kind of a regional rivalry.
Speaking of that, though, I think someone noted that's the first time, perhaps, I don't think it's ever, but there's some huge span of time since we've played an Ivy League school. So that is kind of notable that it's on there. It's kind of an oddball. You don't see that often for us.
Maybe the most notable thing about all of this was, once again, West Virginia is the first school in the country to put out their non-conference schedule.
Right.
Which is like, is that a thing? Like,
I mean, I would say normally they're trying to like build ticket sales off of the heat from this season, but I don't think that's the case. So I don't know.
Are they trying to get out and say that, hey, we're going to have a team next year?
Yeah, we'll at least be playing next year.
We're gonna have a team, so we're gonna put the schedule out.
I mean, it's crazy. Well, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, how are we supposed to get excited about next season when we've already had to live through this season and we still have one more game to lose?
You're going to have to hope there's some guys on the roster to go up against these high-powered teams in these tournaments, because it makes me nervous right off the bat, honestly.
Right. Guys, some exciting news for WVU. There's a new Mountaineer next season, Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. Mary Roush, I think is her name. She's the 68th Mountaineer mascot. I think she's the third female Mountaineer mascot, so it's really cool. She was announced during the TCU game. So someone noted, I think I had bookmarked it, I think it's the Smoking Musket account noted that the last time, Scoot, we had a female Mountaineer, the football team went 9-3 and the basketball team went to the Final Four. So I mean, hey, I'll take whatever. I'm looking for anything at this point, right? So like, I'll take it. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it can't hurt, right?
Right. I mean, it's right. I mean, I like. Hey, thanks to Smoking Musket and whoever found that out there, Miller, whoever those, or Jake, or whoever found that out. It's a good stat. It makes me feel good. Like,
Scoot, it's a good stat. It's a feel good stat.
It's a feel good stat. I mean, you know how Scoot loves numbers.
I do. I like to crunch the numbers.
I see you giving me the poker face. You can get behind that stat. That's a stat you can get behind.
That's right.
And Guido, we can't leave the all conference honors without noting that Gabe was named the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, which is pretty cool, and he was named to the Big 12 All Defensive Team.
And I feel like he maybe should have been honorable mention instead of Sean McNeil, but I mean, Gabe's had a really strong season. I will say Gabe has stepped up here. I feel like Gabe has stepped up here, where nobody else was filling the void. I mean, we don't necessarily want Gabe scoring, but he's done what he needed to do.
Well, but it is funny that he did up his scoring. I don't think anyone would expect him to be scoring at 17, 19 points a game like he had for a few games.
Well, it would be an interesting... Let's do something real quick. We haven't talked about doing this, so I like throwing you guys...
You're throwing a curveball.
I like to throw... Okay.
It scares me when you do this.
Here we go.
So we've got several fifth-year seniors or guys that came back for a year when they could have left.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Let's go through them real quick and say whether or not they helped their stock or they hurt their stock.
Well, can I mention one other thing before we do? So, okay, that sounds good. So I put out a poll on Twitter about asking people about the number of returners next season from this basketball roster, which is what we talked about last show. And Scoot, an overwhelming number of the tidal wave of 16 people that responded.
That's a flood of responses.
That's a lot of people.
I'm going to pause there for dramatic effect. They agreed with my estimate of 4 or less returning from this roster. So now with that context in mind, because I had said 4, I think you said 5. Guido, the ever optimist, said 6. Overwhelmingly, this obviously large sample size of 16 respondents to my Twitter poll agreed with me. So there you have it.
Are we allowed to count the 13 family members that you had vote?
Yeah, right. Right.
I mean,
did you log in with different accounts, Johnson, and vote for it? Is that what it
Got
was?
some sort of bot that
use
did
my
some
other
voting for you?
Twitter
Yeah,
account.
use your-
Yes.
Yeah. He had a bot that did 4 extra votes on there. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, interesting. So let's look at these 50-year
Okay, so let's
seniors.
go.
I'm with you.
I'll start.
Well,
with
7. I think it was 7 total people that were honored and walked.
Right. So
Quote
we'll go
unquote,
through each
right?
of those
Is
guys.
that so? Is that what you want to do? You want
Yeah.
to go through these? Okay.
So we'll look at Kedrian Johnson.
Yeah.
Has he hurt himself or helped himself by playing this year?
I definitely think he's helped himself. Like, I think that he's definitely helped himself. You saw him on the court more than you did last year. You saw him play more. There were flashes of good play. There were problems, but there was a lot of good play in there, I think.
Yeah, I think he helped himself, Scoot, just for the fact that he obviously put the work in for them to start him. And in these games where he was out with like a hand or a hip pointer, they talked openly about how they missed his defense. So I feel like he helped himself.
I'm going to say he's helped himself. Now, I don't know that he's helped himself. He's probably helped himself into another year, to be honest with you, because he did tease.
Well, he put out a tweet.
Yeah.
He put out a tweet, didn't he?
Yeah, whether or not he should come back. He asked
A
Mountaineer
tease.
Nation.
A tease.
A tease. A tease.
A
What do I
tweeze.
do?
A tweet. A
Mountaineer
Twitter.
Nation.
A tease. A
Twitter
tweeze.
tease. A tweeze.
And so I think he helped himself. How about Paulie Polycap?
I mean, see, that's hard for me because I don't know what he did at DePaul. I don't know what he did at Manhattan. I mean, I think at Manhattan, he was, and this is my problem. Like, you come from Manhattan, you play great, you go to DePaul. I think, DePaul, which used to be a powerhouse or a better program.
Back in the
I think, than they are
1950s,
now.
yes, they were a power.
Yes. And I think he played probably pretty good at those two places. He comes to WVU, you're in a Power 5. I think he would have been better suited to stay at a place like DePaul.
Yeah, I think he helped himself, Scoot, because he was active. He got a ton of minutes. He got a lot of exposure. He wasn't like, whether you feel like he did a bang up job or not, he wasn't stashed away on the bench. He played a ton. And now I know he cooks food that I can order. So, I mean, I feel like he helped himself.
Well, so I guess there's two ways to look at it, right? Did he help himself to play professionally somewhere, or did he help himself with becoming kind of a fan favorite or maybe making himself more known to people? So in that sense, I think he did help himself, right? Because he was kind of an obscure or an unknown quantity at DePaul, other than the fact that his name sounds
Right.
like the school.
Right.
Right.
And it's bizarre that that's what his parents decided to name him. Also, I think he's hurt himself as far as like playing professionally. Let's say at the next level, he averaged, I think, 9.9 points a game or 9.8 points a game or something at DePaul. He's way below that at WVU. I mean, there was a lot of games where I don't even think he scored. So as far as playing professionally, I don't know that he's helped himself. So I'm going to say hurt overall.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. Moving on. How about Diamond Kerrigan?
I mean, again, I think you said it best. Playing 1 minute in the last game of the season as a senior, probably not such a great thing, right? So I'm going to say probably did not help himself.
Yeah, I'm going to tend to say the same thing, Scoot, just because he didn't really get a whole lot of exposure. He didn't play a ton of minutes throughout these games. And I think had he stayed at why am I having a brain lapse? He was at Florida International. Okay, yeah. So I think had he stayed there or a school like that, he probably gets more minutes, more exposure, and I think he helps himself more. So if I have to pick help or hurt, I'm going to say he probably hurt himself a little bit.
I agree. Early in the non-conference season, even before the season started, I was probably the highest on him
you
of the
were.
three transfers
Because
that
of
came
his
in.
blocking ability, which I got excited about.
Yeah,
you were
because
too.
of his blocking ability, because he kind of had a high profile in high school, and I didn't know, maybe it was grades that led him down the path he went down, or perhaps it's just the path he travels on.
But
I don't know, but
he showed some flashes of that in certain games this year. It just didn't come to fruition like a consistent thing.
right. And I thought maybe, to be honest with you, and of course it's hard to compare play. It's not hard. I guess it's easy to compare players. But in my mind, I thought maybe he could be Because at the beginning of the season, I didn't know what we were going to be. I didn't know if we were going to try to go back to a press Virginia. I thought maybe he could be like that Jonathan Holton type.
Right.
He was not.
Well, what about like a Malik Curry?
Yeah, I mean, I think Malik did a great job and helped himself a lot. And I think Malik has probably set himself up to have some sort of halfway decent foreign professional career after the season, because there were times where he was the starter. He was making things happen on a team that had nobody making things happen except for Taz Sherman. So I think all those things, when you start to look at it in the eyes of somebody who is looking to, bring in a player internationally, I think he fits the bill in a lot of
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Guido for a lot of the same things. I mean, I think he showed in a lot of these games, even games where we were kind of out of it, his scoring and ability to create kept us in it. And I think over the course, Hugs even had some post-game quotes. I think after, what was it, Iowa State that we unfortunately gave away late, he had the quote like, hey, we can't keep just assuming that Malik's going to carry us, So I think he got a lot of exposure that he could create and score against some top-notch defenses. So I think he helped himself.
I think he helped himself too. I think the first half of the season, though, he did struggle with trying to figure out what his role was going to be. I think at times he pressed because he did kind of come in. He averaged like 16 a game at Old Dominion. So he kind of came in as the guy from his previous school. And then when you try to mesh with with two other guys that kind of play the same spot as you, in Taz and Sean, he's trying to figure out, where am I going to get my shots?
Yeah.
How am I going to score? So I think there was some struggle there early on. I do think he helped himself, though, because there were times where I forget which game it was, but Huggins said, who else would we want to have the ball in that last shot? He was so hot in that game, so we had to give it to him. And that's saying something when you've got shooters like Taz and Sean McNeil on your team. So I'd say he helped.
So speaking of, which one of those two do you want to talk about?
Let's go with Taz. Taz was the one that was probably the most I don't want to say what's drawn out or the most either most anticipated or whatever when it came to the decisions of whether or not he was going to return.
Yeah.
I mean, I think without a doubt, Taz helped himself. I mean, he had a great season. He should have been, we just said this, he should have been first team all Big 12. Led or was second in scoring. At one point, he was almost leading the nation in scoring during the non-conference part of the season. So I think there's a lot of things that, helped him, especially last year. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I think if Deuce had come back, if we hadn't lost, all the ifs, DC came back, we hadn't lost Oscar, Deuce was there, and he would have gone back to being a sixth man or a role player, it would have been a different story. I think coming back, being the leader, being the number one on this team, without a doubt, was the right decision for him to make.
Yeah, I agree. He goes over 1,000 points. He shows that he can be a leading scorer and more than just a sixth man, which, like Guido said, he had been in the past. So I'm also going to say he definitely helped himself.
Well, you guys are good NBA evaluators of talent.
yes, we definitely have to be.
NBA or Europe for Taz?
Will he maybe, with the way that the G League has been going, will he maybe sign a G League deal? I think he's got a shot at it. I think his career long term will probably be more, Europe or the same thing that John's done, the same thing that Deshaun's done, that sort of trajectory.
Yeah, I'm going to say Europe. Just because I think if you I lumped Taz in with, I don't know. I think Guido, did you say Jay Sean? Some of those guys that I feel like,
Phillip.
They're scorers.
Yeah.
Tariq's one of my all-time faves.
Daxter.
They could score. They were athletic. They could get open. They could create. I think the G League's really weird. Like when Juwan Staten didn't get picked up for a longer term on the G League, I thought that was odd. So sometimes I think it's actually very difficult for guys to catch on and get traction there.
The NBA is tough to really
Deuce
figure out what.
Deuce does this game on, game off weird thing with the Knicks now. Which is odd to me. I don't know how he could possibly play better.
With Westchester, he has to be averaging 39 points a game.
So weird.
Every time you turn around, it's 39 points.
So it's not just Taz. I just think for me it'd be easier for him to go have a really a really good European career. So that I would say Europe.
Yeah, I'm going to say Europe. I think he helped himself because he was a sixth man, and to show that he can start and lead a team scoring wise. I think there's a lot of things in his game though that he's got to fine tune if he were to really even think about playing in the NBA. Some of that is his defense. Some of that is he's prone to turnovers. Like there was a stretch there where he was coughing up the ball like 5 times a game.
What about Sean, Guido?
Yeah, I mean, certainly saving the biggest one for last here, guys. I feel bad for Sean. I think Sean expected to have a really amazing season, and I think that. Listen, I hate this and you'll probably see it this year. I don't know if there's anybody maybe on this team that would do this, but he put out that tweet last year of him and the NBA logo, and I'm evaluating my options, and we all kind of were like, really, like. You're maybe you need another season. And I think probably all the evaluators said, hey, you need another season. And then he came back and he wasn't the Sean McNeil that we saw last season when it came to shooting. I think that if all things being equal, he probably should have last year tried to go professional off of the steam that he had from, last season as, this sort of role player who came in and shot the lights out at times. And he probably could have had, and he probably still will have. I mean, I don't know, guys. Like, he probably still will have a good professional career. I just think he might have set himself up a little better if he had gone last year and not come back for his senior year.
Yeah, so you're saying hurt.
Yeah, I think he hurt himself.
Yeah, I agree because I think Sean is miserable. Like, if you just watch Sean in these last half dozen games to finish out the year, I mean, obviously we don't know, we're not there, but just his body language and the way he is playing during these games, he just looks miserable. Like, and I agree. I think probably I feel like he would think, yeah, I probably should have just went ahead and made a move last year when I was a hot commodity. I think obviously the talent is still there. And I think you guys brought up something last show that caught my attention that I actually wonder now. And I think you guys had a great idea. Like, it's intriguing to think he could actually go to another school, try to get the train rolling again with a hot season, and then decide to do something. He actually doesn't have to. He can technically come back.
Yeah, he has another a more eligible.
But I think he hurt himself too, Scoot.
I think he hurt himself for sure. I do like that idea, and I do think he's a Power 5 player. Defensively, he struggles. He's not an NBA guy. I don't think he ever really was an NBA guy. Like I still kind of base some of the stuff off of my evaluations off of previous WVU players who I thought were bona fide NBA players, and they can't stick. So I don't think he's an NBA guy. I think he could be like another Chinese Jimmer Fredette. I think he could like be a big time scorer in a league that kind of caters to a spot shooter. I think he could be amazing in that kind of setup. So I do think he hurt himself. I think though that if he went to another school, that could be an interesting thing where he could kind of, like you said, maybe rekindle some of that mojo.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said last week, go to a mid-major, shoot the lights out. Maybe it might look better. I don't know.
We've got one last guy. Gabe Osaboyan.
I mean, I think with this one's easy for me. Like, I think without a doubt, it was perfect for him to come back. So helpful for him to come back. I think he actually probably built himself a better chance at having a professional career by coming back and doing some of the things he did this season.
Yeah, come on, Scoot. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Big 12 All-Defensive Team, luxury tracksuit brand, luxury T-shirts. Come on.
Lodi G.
Obviously,
Lodi G.
That's a help.
For sure.
NBA G League or Europe?
Well, I don't think he's NBA. Like, I hope whoever is going to represent him will help him understand that he's better off going to Europe probably and trying to make and become a star there.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but can't you see a guy like Gabe latching on to a team and fans at whatever that team is also getting behind him like they did in the Coliseum. I can totally see that. So I would say Europe, just because I can see him latching on with a team, people loving his, workmanlike approach to the game, and then him becoming a fan favorite.
I agree. He helped himself. It's still kind of weird that a guy that came off the bench for most of the season helped himself to a potential pro career that probably wasn't there prior to this year.
I mean, I don't think, I agree with you. I mean, I think
that's kind of odd, right?
He was looking good last year, and then the Chargers were the thing last year, and that was like the only thing, But I remember Johnson and I went to a game, the first game he played in for WVU. We watched him play, and it was like, man, I didn't think he was going to make it up and down the court more than 2 times. I think he's really come a long way in his years at WVU.
He still has the kind of looks like he's on ice skates when he has the basketball in his hands on the offensive end. He does some weird
Let me ask you a question, though. Has there been, can you think of a WVU player in the history of your fandom that can take a charge better than he can?
No, probably no. Take a charge?
I don't think there is one. Like, he will go down in history as like the greatest, defensive charge taker ever for WVU. Like,
I'd like you to make a plaque for him or a banner.
He needs a plaque.
Yeah, defensive charge taker.
Defensive charge taker. #TM 2022. So that's a fun exercise, Scoot. I'm glad you did that. So, we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting offseason to watch this WVU team. Before we go and take a break, because we're going to come back and talk about football in the second segment real quick, is Kansas, guys. Just real quick, tweet came out this week. A couple of people have reported now that Kansas will probably get some penalties put upon them before the tip-off of the Big 12 tournament, or before their tip-off on the Big 12 tournament this week. Johnson, there have been some rumors flying around.
Yeah, so we'll add this to the show notes for the show, but I've seen it on a couple different Twitter accounts. This one is @M_Vernon, Mike Vernon on Twitter. He is just highlighting what we've seen on some other tweets as well, that there are rumors that Bill Self and Curtis Townsend, who I guess is an assistant on the staff, could take a 2-year postseason ban, Scoot, and then if that happens, they'd want to go ahead and just get that going. Like this tweet, like his tweet is essentially saying Kansas doesn't want this hanging out there anymore. Get it done. If you're handing down the punishment, hand it down. Let's go get it on the road.
I had heard that the punishment was going to be that they were not allowed to wear Adidas apparel, that they were going to have to wear only Pony,
or they couldn't have Snoop Dogg.
Right. Only Pony and Spot Built.
New Balance only.
Pumas.
Yeah.
Monarchs. They could.
That would be. That's a punishment right there. They have to wear Monarchs.
Now,
yes.
What did you say? Spot Built.
Spot Built. I think they make like a turf shoe for softball, for like Sunday softball leagues.
Okay. Guido, I'm glad you brought this up, because to me, this kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, this feels like year 10 or whatever. We've been waiting on them to do something about the laundry list of stuff we've heard about Kansas involvement in some of the stuff that's been going on, all the while watching people like Mike Boynton get penalized, from postseason and tournament and everything, for seemingly smaller things that they cooperated with. So I don't know. I'll believe this when I see it, I guess, is what this prompts me to say. Like, that's fine. But I don't for 1 second feel like that's immediately going to come to fruition. I'll believe it when I see it.
Don't you feel like, and I guess I'll leave it at this and then we'll take a break, is like, don't you guys feel like, though, I get it. Like, I get for a team like Kansas, playing in the NCAA tournament's a big deal. They're usually there every season. They're top 4 team perennially. Like, when in this kind of problem, and the same thing with UNC, what happened with UNC is like, when do you start to lose scholarships? Like, you gotta do some real punishment here. Like, I think postseason's one thing, but you got to do some real punishment to, make the program have that notch down that they are trying to make them feel like, because they made this mistake. And I don't know. I just don't feel like postseason doesn't do anything. I think you still get, it doesn't hurt.
Look at
doesn't
Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton, was he even there when the problem happened?
No.
And he's the one that gets punished. I think while Bill Self and that crew is still in charge, they should be punished, and they should face something probably more drastic than Mike Boynton has to deal with. So that's a frustrating thing, and you can't help but think it's because of who they are as to why they don't get punished the way every other place does. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, listen, guys, let's take a quick break right now. We're going to come back in segment 2, talk a little bit about some WVU football, a little short segment here, some WVU football and WVU baseball. Neil Brown spoke this week, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then segment 3, we're bringing it back, boys. Bluff the Fluffs on for this week. Cloney did some work, so we got all that coming up. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On.
Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high quality steel, fast opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast opening, high quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Eers On. Hey, listen, don't forget, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Eers, and search for us on Facebook. And you can also find us individually. Scoot's got his own Twitter account. Johnson's got his own Twitter account. Scoot tweets out funny thing. Johnson puts up polls and he votes on it for himself. So,
He encourages his family.
so yeah, check us out. Find us online. Look for us on social media. Guys, football is, I mean, it's that time of year where we all start to get that football itch. Basketball's winding down. Baseball's not happening this year, apparently, for MLB fans. Neil Brown has his first offseason press conference this past week. Couple of things came out of it, Johnson, and I don't know where you want to start. I got one that I want to start with, which is he talked about the quarterbacks. And I thought it was really interesting how he approached it. He said, you know what? We're going to see what we have this spring. Everybody's going to get reps, and we're going to let them all play. And then if that doesn't work out, then we'll go back to the transfer portal this summer. What did you read into that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think Jake Lance, our friend over at Smoking Musket, kind of summed it up. First of all, it's the coach. I think it was Jake who said the coach speak in this was in mid-season form. Like, holy cow, was there
right.
coach speak through all of this. But I think the quarterback comment specifically had if there would have been a soundtrack in the back and you heard the record scratch, it would have occurred right after that quote, because my takeaway was, oh, okay, you've been telling us, you're bringing Mr. Arizona in here and you're just going to hand him the torch. You brought Graham Harrell in. It looks like he's coming in to help groom whatever this situation is. So I don't know. It made me pause, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I think at face value, are you saying that maybe you're not convinced on any of these three guys and you might need someone to come in? Or is that just more, you've been dealing coach speak through all this other stuff. Is this just coach speak to say, oh, well, I'm still going to do the right thing and hold their feet to the fire and make it a competition? I don't know. Felt weird.
Well, Scott, do you feel like, you're the one who's the most vocal about this position on this WVU team. And so we know Jarrett Dagey ain't walking through the door.
No.
So, what?
As much as you want that, Scoot.
No.
Yeah, right.
Well, listen,
Scoot.
I'm not the guy that wants the jersey. He was going to wear a jersey, he said.
I guess what I'm
it
asking,
wasn't
Scooty,
quote unquote your boy, right?
I guess that's true. He is my boy.
He is your boy. I guess what I'm asking, Scoot, is how does this, as a fan, knowing that there's a quarterback competition, knowing these three names that we have between, Goose and Green and Nico, how does it make you feel that it doesn't sound like Neil Brown has a lot of confidence in who's going to be quarterback?
Well, so going back to the coach speak, he's saying a lot of stuff to keep these three guys on the hook, because I think if he says, well, I'm not sold on anybody just yet, then those guys are probably looking to see, okay, well, who's still interested in me, because I need to get out of here as fast as I can. But if I'm Neil Brown and I make them feel like they've got a legitimate chance at being a quarterback here, I'm going to kind of say those things that I say and string them along, because you don't want to have to try to find 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks all of a sudden. So I wonder if in Neil Brown's mind, does he already have somebody in mind that's a transfer that he's just trying to go through the motions here during the spring to get to that transfer in the fall?
But do you think that would work? And what I mean is we talked about it, I think, after the bowl game. To me, I find it hard to believe if you're going to go out and get a transfer, I would think you'd want to get a guy that had more than just one season of potential playing time with you. Okay, so that's my context for that. But if that's the case, are any of these 3 guys we're talking about gonna stay?
No.
If they see that? So like, to me, that becomes a very odd,
right.
Like, that's fine to say that. And maybe you're saying, look, I don't think it's fair to Nico to just throw, like, I mean, I don't know, right? I'm just saying, maybe the reason you say something like that is because in the back of your mind, Graham Harrell's thinking like, look, I love this kid, but I don't know that it's fair to just throw him out there his freshman year.
Well, and you got to remember, Graham Harrell didn't recruit any of these kids either. Like
right.
You know, on top of
That's
that.
a good point. Yeah, that's a great point too, Guido. But I think like, then if you go get a guy, do you just get a guy that's a bridge guy for 1 year and then you keep all that other stuff in motion? If it's more than 1 year of eligibility, then I think you're like, then you get these guys thinking like, you know what, especially like if you're Goose, like, oh, okay, now I'm definitely sitting more seasons. Like, I don't know. To me, you start to throw that into disarray.
I think that I would much rather go into the season, me as a fan, with one of the 3 freshmen. Well, I guess
they're not freshmen, but I know what you mean now.
Garrett won't be a freshman yet. But I'd rather go with one of those 3 guys as a fan, and I've said this all along. I would have rather halfway through this last season gone with either Goose or Garrett, because we weren't going to win anything. We weren't going to win anything of meaningful value. Let's get those lumps out of the way now. And if you think about it,
at least get them some reps.
We should have gone half a season with either Goose or Garrett, and then we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in right now. Then you wouldn't be thinking about, we need to get another transfer in that's got some experience, because...
Or be talking about them like unknown quantities. Right. Like, because you would have already...
If you weren't sold on Garrett Green, he should have started playing Goose Crowder the last 4 games of the season, because we weren't... What were we going to win? We weren't going to win anything.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Now, I guess if you play him, he could have been... Could you say he would have been damaged goods because he would have played under a bad system, or, you know, would he have developed things that aren't going to help him for the future? I don't know, but I would have rather have seen Goose than Jarrett Dagey trotted out there.
Yeah. So week. I just thought that was an interesting comment, Johnson. I guess other things he talked about is he pretty much said, I'm not going to talk about any of the guys who left and went to the transfer portal. I'm not going to even.
He gave him the Norman Dale.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about the guys that aren't on this team.
Yeah, he did that. It's exactly what he said. Yeah.
Isn't that what Norman
Hoosiers? Yeah.
They were pushing him though. They specifically about pushing him. Chandler Semedo.
Yeah. Because it happened. Because that happened. The week before, just a couple days before that press conference.
Yeah, that was top of mind, but he was not really offering anything up, and I don't think you can blame him. I mean, come on, what's he going to say?
Still, so that's such a weird, the Chandler Semedo thing to me is such a weird transfer. You do it like 2 weeks before spring practice. You're in the middle of the
You sounded
semester.
Scottish there, right there. You did.
You did.
Did
you get out there and you did.
Yeah. You kind of transfer at this time. You kind of do it. But it's just very odd timing. Like, and I think I said this to you guys before. Does he continue to go to class? Does he still work out? Is he already in contact with another coach? And I know we talked about him flashing the Marshall or the Miami U
right. Twitter
up on
bio,
his Twitter or Instagram or something. Yeah. So was that already a done deal? Like, is he already?
But you're right. It's weird. It's
else?
mid-semester for one thing. It's just weird.
Mid-semester, really weird. So I don't know. I it'll be interesting. There's not much you can pull out of this press conference. I mean, WVU spring practices start March 22nd, like 2 weeks away. So I mean, we'll learn more when spring practices start. They go into those daily, or I think they do every other day. I can't remember what they did last year. Press conferences, and some media gets allowed to watch some stuff. I will tell you one thing that I really like this week, guys. Tony Washington. I mean, this new offensive staff, I think, is going to be good for the program. So
juiced, Scoot. They're juiced up.
They're getting juiced up. So
juice.
Tony Washington Johnson puts out a flame of a tweet this week.
Yeah, I mean, this felt like Tony Washington coming out and saying, like, putting everyone on notice that he's trying to change the attitude around here. So he puts out a tweet, Scoot, watching cut-ups and recruits thinking this is a great time to be a West Virginia University wide receiver. Air raid system is legit. And I think it's cool. I mean, that's what we need, right? If there was ever a time to try and right the ship on, we've been talking about the memes around like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air walking into the empty living room. That was our wide receiver room, stuff like that. This was great to see. And Tony Washington being out here saying, hey, look, I'm excited about what's to come. And that's on the heels of Grant Harrell coming in as well. I think it's cool. And I think those guys, Guido, have to feel good about that too.
Yeah, Scooty. And he goes on to say, who wants to join the mafia and be a part of something special? It sounded so exciting to me, I guess.
And it feels like Graham Harrell probably had a pretty strong voice in getting Tony Washington, since it sounds like he's already kind of hitched himself to this air raid idea, or at least some fashion of it. And if you're going to coach the wide receivers, you need to sell the fact that it's going to be an air raid. Otherwise, if you're talking about some sort of ground and pound, your wide receivers aren't catching the ball. So you want to try to recruit, you need to tell them, hey, we're going to be throwing the ball around, so you better be ready to catch it.
You'll also be happy to know that we got some. So how we give, we're givers. We're portal givers. We're like on the supply end of the portal.
Yes.
Well, we're a big exporter. We're a big portal exporter.
Would you say that West Virginia football is major exports as players?
Well, we got an import.
We
got an import this week.
From a Power 5.
From a Power 5. Do you know who it is?
Yes, it's I'm going to say his name is Growthhouse or something like that. Or something like that.
Yeah. We got to make sure Tony Caridi says his name like a very angry German when he does it.
Growthhouse. Yeah.
Growthhouse.
He's good. When he kicks, he's good.
The kick is good.
So instead of we've got an Australian punter and a German kicker is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think he's really German, by the way, but he's got a very German name.
Which, interesting enough, he was a walk-on and eventually got on scholarship at Florida State, and now has parlayed that into transferring to another Power 5 school. But I believe I read something where he had 20-some out of 60 kickoffs were through the end zone or something like that, which
we could use.
Let's be
that
honest.
Would be nice to have.
This past season, they might as well have had our intern Cloney kicking the ball, because that sucker was going, to the 25 at best.
I think it's good news, and I like just seeing. I'm not going to lie, and this is so lame, but I'm just going to admit that I was just pumped to see an import, Scoot. Like, just give me somebody, and it was from a Power 5 school. So I was happy.
It's an odd import. I mean, it is not typical that you see, hey, we're getting our transfer is a kicker. Like, you don't see that too often. I wonder what the percentage of transfers are kickers. It's got to be very low.
I mean,
I would think, but I don't
think so.
I don't know.
I don't know.
This is our second one, right? Because we got Sumter.
Well, I feel like you get those in the grad transfer sort of portal side of it, but so that's definitely fun, guys. WVU, like I said, starts spring practices here in the end of March, and we're finally going to get to talk about something happening with the football program, see where this goes with this new offensive setup that they have. We should also, guys, talk about WVU Baseball, still off to a great season start. They're 7-4 overall right now, and they had their home opener on Tuesday, and they just laid one on Kinesis, Johnson.
Yeah, everyone got in on the act. I think Victor Scott, I linked to one of his homers in the show notes, but they go on to win 17-3. And I think it's exciting. You know, we talked about it last week. I think specifically through the first 4 games, now through these additional games, for a team that finished last in the Big 12 in production, man, are they off to a hot start. And I think it's really exciting for Randy Mazey's team. It feels like they've found a way to score. Yeah, and I know this is Kinesis, but still, I mean, they parlay this, they move forward, they headed to Minnesota. They won their first game 5-4 over Minnesota. And I think they've been playing in, Guido, you mentioned it last week, one of the cooler baseball tournaments.
It's weird. Have you seen pictures of it? It's very
well. They've
weird.
tried to make it into the old dome, right?
Yeah, it's very weird though. I get it. It's kind of cool. Me personally, it doesn't feel like a great baseball venue.
Like the 80s baseball fan in you, 80s, 90s baseball fan in you.
You still have the lines for the football field
Well,
there.
they cleaned that up a little bit. I mean, they at least got some of that, but yeah, you're right. And it's kind of weird because there's no dirt or fake dirt around first and second base. But I love the fact that they tried to go for like the garbage bag outfield that the Metrodome used to have in those old Twin games. I like that they did that in US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. So I thought it was fun. You know, unfortunately, I was really hoping to get to watch some of those games. You had to pay because it was against Big Ten teams. It was a Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It was a Big Ten battle of some sort that they were invited to. And so you had to pay for the Big Ten network, and I'm not going to pay for the Big Ten network to watch those.
Dude, I feel like they should just go ahead and say, you know what, since you're here, just be a member of the Big Ten. I feel like that's what they should say.
I mean, they could. I mean, I would accept it. It's better than what we're in. I still don't know that I would like it, but it's
I'm
better
just saying
than
I'll
what we're
take
in.
it.
Yeah,
if it's on the table.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't think it's on the table.
I don't think it's on the table
unfortunately.
either. Well, WVU 7-4 right now overall, and they've got a game coming up against Ryder on Wednesday, March 9th. They have a game at the Wagner Field, as we've known that's now called Wagner Field at Mon County Ballpark. That's a 3 p.m. first pitch on Wednesday, and then they stay home for the weekend. They have a weekend series coming up the 11th through the 13th against the Buckeyes, and all of those games Wednesday and all this weekend. That's all on ESPN Plus, so you can watch WVU Baseball.
Not gonna lie, hard to get there if you're a fan. 3 p.m. on a Wednesday.
3 p.m. on a Wednesday is tough.
That's a tough
one.
That's not going to be a packed house.
They're playing a 6:00 game Friday night in Morgantown. I just think they worry that it gets a little cold when the sun goes down this time of year. So we'll see what happens. So WVU has a couple more games, a couple more weeks until they get into the conference, including a couple games against Marshall coming up and Youngstown State. So keep your eye on WVU Baseball. It's a fun watch this year. We're having a good time doing it. So we'll keep you up to date as much as we can on it. Well, listen, guys, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with the #1 game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On.
Tactical Legion Knives, a West Virginia owned and operated company that specializes in heavy-duty tactical knives and gear for the professional warrior, the weekend warrior, and the outdoor warrior. Our products are built tough. For who? For warriors. Hey Mountaineer fans, make sure you go on Amazon and search Tactical Legion Knives, and when you do, make sure you put in the promo code 25TOBRADIO for Top Radio. You'll get 25% off on Tactical Legion Knives.
Welcome back to Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot and Johnson. And listen, don't forget, check out our website. It is pretty gosh darn cool, Johnson.
It is. You sound like Don Nealon. It is pretty gosh darn cool. You can find the latest show in blog form with all the links to the show notes and stuff that we talked about, probably some stuff we didn't even get to. You can also click through to the merch store, and you can find things like our pullover guy shirt and other merch you can check out. And you can also hit the tune in link right on the side of the front page and listen to the latest show. So check it all out.
Yeah, check it out. GotYourEarsOn.com. It's a great place to be. Well, listen, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I know this. We have the #1 game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. There's no podcast that is a game show that is as good as ours. And this game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. Johnson and Scooty, we haven't played a lot this season so far. You know, early in the year, we kind of tend to take it easy. But now we're going to start kicking it back up. Right now, you guys are tied up at 1 game apiece, and our intern, who we pay handsomely to write these Bluff the Fluffs, has done it yet again. He's written a Bluff the Fluffs for you guys. This one is all about the internet.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, Scoot.
I feel like Johnson's got an
I
advantage.
know a few things about the internet. Yes. Scoot knows that he loves Internet Explorer as his favorite web browser.
That's right.
That's what he knows.
I like to get on to Prodigy and
Prodigy.
AOL Online.
He's still using that instant messenger from AOL, right, Scoot?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
All right, as always, guys, a correct answer is worth 5 points, a steal is worth 10 points, and final bluff is worth 25 points. During the break, if you're watching on Twitch, you would have seen this. We had a complete and total random flip of the coin, and Scooty got to come out first this week.
Okay.
Don't be so enthused.
He's excited
Scoot.
about it, as you can see.
I'm ready.
Okay. Scoot's ready, he says. All right, here we go. First question. Online auction giant eBay was founded in September of 1995. It sold this item for its very first online sale. Was it a Lisa Simpson Pez dispenser, a giant red paperclip, a broken laser pointer, or a box of Elvis plates?
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm gonna say the Lisa Simpson Pez dispenser. That feels good. Ooh, that
I'm
is
sorry,
wrong.
Scoot. That's incorrect. Johnson for 10 points in the steal. Was it a giant red paperclip, a broken laser pointer, or a box of Elvis plates?
You know, box of Elvis plates feels very garage sale-y, eBay. I'm going to go with a box of Elvis plates.
Sorry, that's incorrect as well. It was a broken laser pointer was the first thing sold on eBay.
Who would buy it?
Who wants that? Nobody wants
mean,
that. Apparently
there's
someone
junk.
did.
Some people think they can fix
Junk.
things. I don't know. I'm just saying. All right. So nobody gets any points right there. And we move on to the next question. Elwood Edwards, the man who recorded You've Got Mail, was paid for this for his infamous 2.5 soundbite. How much was he paid for his infamous 2.5 soundbite? Was it $200, $4,000, 1,000 shares of AOL stock, or nothing? Johnson, what do you think?
This is tough. I'm going to say they paid him in... No, I'm not. I'm going to say he got $200.
That's the correct answer. He was paid $200 to read the phrase, "You've got mail."
Scoot, he got robbed.
He totally got robbed. Like, how much do you think that's...
I mean,
That's an
gotta be worth-
iconic soundbite.
That's an iconic soundbite.
I guess, but who's gonna pay? Like, nobody pays for that.
But I mean,
Right, so-
he could have done, you know, what's the name of the guy who does Let's Get Ready to Rumble? Like, he could have, like,
Michael
Michael
Buffer.
Buffer, right.
He's the Michael Buffer of the internet.
Yeah, he is the Michael
Let's
Buffer.
get ready to check your email.
You've got email.
Well, but that feels like something now that could be like an NFT, doesn't it? I mean, they could
Totally.
make that into a... So anyway.
Elwood Edwards. So sorry for him. All right, Johnson, well, congratulations. You got that right, and you take the lead 5-0 over Scoot. Scooty, this next question is to you. Snapchat, Scoot's second favorite social media platform to slide into DMs on, has a ghost...
These questions. Cloney setting me up.
has a ghost mascot, and that ghost mascot has a name. What is the name of the Snapchat ghost mascot? Is it Ghosty Ghosterson, Ghostface Chilla, G Money, or Virgil?
I feel it's Ghostface Chilla.
That's correct for 5 points. That is the name of the Snapchat ghost mascot.
I know my Snapchat.
That's awesome, by the way.
I liked Ghosty Ghosterson, though.
Yeah.
Ghosty Ghosterson's a good name.
That is a good name. And Virgil.
Cloney.
That means Cloney just threw Virgil in at the
Cloney
end.
just threw Virgil in there. All right, so correct answer there for Scoot ties it all up. 5 points apiece. Johnson, this next one's back to you. This man, a hero for teenage boys looking to find questionable images online, is considered to be the inventor of the World Wide Web. Is it Bill Gates, Al Gore, Tim Berners-Lee, or Errol Musk? That's Elon's dad.
I believe Tim Berners-Lee started Netscape and went on from there. So I'm going to go Tim Berners-Lee.
That's correct for 5 points. And now we know what Cloney searches for when he is on the internet. So there we go. All right, Johnson, you now have the lead 10-5 over Scoot. And Scooty, this next question is back to you. In 2001, the Dave Matthews Band was the first to do this.
Win Scoot over on the radio.
He waved to me. He did wave to me.
Was it upload a song to YouTube, release a song directly to Napster, stream a concert while online, or sell tickets through their website?
I don't think it was Napster. I'm going to say stream a concert through their website. Or whatever
No,
that
I'm
was.
sorry, that's incorrect. They did not stream a concert online.
Or
Johnson,
whatever that was.
Whatever that was.
I combined a
says.
couple of them. That's what I did.
All right, Johnson, for 10 points in this deal, was it upload a song to YouTube, release a song directly on Napster, or sell tickets through their website?
I feel like selling tickets directly through their website is a DMB thing to do, Scoot.
Sorry,
Apparently
that's
not.
also
Apparently
incorrect.
it was not.
They released a song directly to Napster in 2001.
Okay. All right.
Very, very odd. I didn't know you could do
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know either. So that's what they did. All right. So nobody gets any points. Johnson still has the lead 10-5 as we come in.
Not that any of us here had Napster
No.
because that was
Right.
illegal.
No, I do
No.
not have a hard drive in my house that has music on it
Right.
from my college days.
Oh, that's
Or
correct.
several
100%.
reams of burned DVD audio
Discs.
MP3s. Yes. No.
No,
Yes.
that does not happen.
Nope.
We are very upstanding citizens on this
Right.
podcast. Right.
Correct.
All right, Johnson, last question before Final Bluff comes to you. You have a lead 10-5 over Scooty. Here you go. Ray Tomlinson sent the first email ever to himself in what year? Was it 1965, 1971, 1977, or 1983?
Oh, boy. This is tough.
You love these numbers questions.
Yeah, I love it when we get a list of random numbers. I'm going to say he did it in 1983.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Scooty, for 10 points and the steal, is it 1965, 71, or 77?
Well, oddly enough, I remember my freshman year in college, I had a roommate who would go over to the computer lab to check his email. And I made fun of him
Yeah.
because I said, who could possibly be sending you email? Nobody sends email. You must be some sort of loser. This was in 95. So this character, would you say his name was Greg Lloyd?
Greg Lloyd. Ray Tomlinson. Where did Greg Lloyd come from?
Ray Tomlinson.
I think Greg Lloyd was a linebacker for the Steelers.
He was for the Steelers. I was giving him more credit than I think he deserved. I'm going to say old Tomlinson did this back in 65.
That's incorrect. It was
That was a
19
long way to
that's
go
a
for the
long way to
wrong
get to
answer,
that
Scoot.
random number. No, it was 1971. Ray Tomlinson sent an email to himself, the very first email ever sent. All right.
Do you think
So-
he did the like, ha-ha? Like, do you think,
I got
he was
it.
like, well, I got it. Look at here.
This is a test. He probably sent this as a test. It's a very common
Yeah.
test email.
It's a very common test email. Scoot
Yes.
sends them to himself all the time.
Yes, Scoot is a
Yes.
aficionado of test emails.
That's right.
All right, so Johnson, you have a 5-point lead, 10-5, going into Final Bluff. As you know, Final Bluff worth 25 points, so it's kind of a winner-take-all situation here, boys. So we do this every time we play. We ask you guys to buzz in with your own buzzers. Scooty, what do you got for a buzzer this week?
That's a good question. I'm going to say sticky keys.
Sticky keys?
Yeah, when you hit the buttons too many times in a row,
Yeah,
you
you
get
need
some
to
sort of
explain
beep and
that
get sticky.
quickly.
Oh,
sticky
that's what
keys.
that is. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was thinking something else.
All right. Yep.
Johnson, what do you have for a buzzer this week?
Ghosty Ghosterson.
Ghosty Ghosterson. All right. The name we wish the Snapchat ghost was named. All right, here we go. Final Bluff. In 2001, this sporting event used a video player called Real Video as the first live streaming sporting event online in the United States. What event was it? Was it the Ohio State spring football game, the Pac-12 swimming and diving finals, professional bowling, or the NFL draft?
Sticky keys?
Are they? Question mark?
All right, Scoot buzzes in kind of first.
Live sporting event 2001. I'm going to say the NFL draft.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Johnson, for 25 points and the win, was it the Ohio State spring football game, Pac-12 swimming and diving finals, or professional bowling?
Scoot, this feels like a West Coast being in the vanguard type of thing, so I'm going to say this Pac-12 swimming and diving finals.
Sorry, that's incorrect. But Johnson, you still win 10-5 in a burner of a game this week, boys. Ohio State spring football game,
What?
first ever streamed sporting event online.
I
in the
did
United
not know
States.
that. Scoot,
Yeah.
apparently a lot of the internet we don't know about.
I don't know a lot about it. I struggle with my DNS
Right.
most of the time.
Yes, your DNS.
Your
you have
NAT.
a problem with your NAT is
Yeah.
always either opened or closed. You
Right.
can't figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah, this might be the worst, lowest scoring Bluff the Fluffs ever, where we went 10-5 in this Bluff the Fluffs.
Yeah, but I won, so who cares?
Johnson wins, takes the lead for the season, 2-1. Scooty, there's a lot of year left. You're not too concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Johnson have his port forwarding and all that.
All right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up this week. Don't forget, there's a lot of WVU sporting events happening next week, including probably the biggest one. WVU plays the playing game for the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City against Kansas State. That's Wednesday night on ESPNU at 7 p.m. So make sure you tune in and watch that game, including some WVU baseball next week, though, also online. So check that out. And listen, look for us online. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us online on our website, gotyourearson.com. We'll be back next week with another show. Thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.